So, Brad, we are recording this podcast. It's the first one we're recording for 2026. So we're actually in the new year now, and I have a question, Brad, that has been burning through my heart the whole Christmas break and New Year's, and I need to ask my friend Brad Guigar. Brad, are Mickey and Minnie married, or are they dating, Brad?
There's an easy joke about effing goofy, but I'm gonna tell you that I know this answer definitively because.
Do you really? Because I did not.
A year ago, 2020, at the end of 2024, we took the family to Disney World right after Christmas. There's a real sweet spot after Christmas, but before New Year's that you can go to Disney World.
Okay.
And we had a great time. And one of the new rides there, using some of the new ride technology, was a Mickey and Minnie ride. And
I've done the California version of that one. Yes.
I love it so. And the song gets stuck in your head. You'll be singing it for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Oh, and such great syncopation, such great ragtime stuff. But anyway, in that ride, Mickey, basically, if I remember right, calls for a date and picks her up at her house. So I'm going to say definitively Mickey and Minnie are dating.
Okay, so you're using as your baseline the ride at Walt Disney World.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Well, I can tell you because I was shocked, Brad, to read the final answer on this one. So apparently the official stance, according to Walt Disney himself, is that they are married. So in an interview in Film Pictorial magazine in 1933, Walt Disney explained, in private life, Mickey is married to Minnie. What it really amounts to is that Minnie is, for screen purposes, his leading lady. If the story calls for a romantic courtship, then Minnie is the girl. But when the story requires a married couple, then they appear as man and wife. So I guess on screen they could be married or dating, but like in Walt's mind, removed from the cameras, they're married in real life. So it's such nonsense.
They've got like a meta reality where they exist outside of the Disney animation,
which makes sense because they often, like, at least in the 1940s and 50s versions of the comics, they would like in the shorts they would like step out of their comics sometimes, wouldn't they? Like go to the studio and stuff. So, anyway, Brad, they're married. They've been married the whole time. That would explain the matching outfit. Yeah.
It begs a lot of questions. Like who did the service? Who officiated the service? Was where was it held? What was the reception like? And by the way, speaking as a guy that went to Disney World. Was it a shotgun
wedding? We don't know,
And speaking as a guy that went to Disney on his honeymoon, where did they go on their honeymoon?
Oh my God.
I like to picture them in the trashy, like a trashy, like Las Vegas hotel or something.
So, are you thinking that they got married by an Elvis impersonator and then stayed at the Three Moons Hotel in Las Vegas or something?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, here's another question: have they ever consummated the relationship?
Well, the only proof we have of any relations is those three nephews. And by the way, how odd that Donald Duck also has three nephews.
Wait. Time out. They both have three nephews?
They both have three nephews. Huey, Dewey, and Louie are the best known, but the other ones are something like Morty, Horty, and Geordie or something. And they both have three nephews.
I had no idea about that. I'm looking that up after the show, Brad. And you know what though? I'm going to stay away from I'm not going to Google have they ever consummated the marriage.
You'll get a lot of Rule 34 stuff that you're not prepared for.
A lot of what's that website? A fandom of our own or whatever, the one where people write the fan fiction and it always seems to be sex stuff. AOC. Yeah, okay. Anyway,
AOC.
No, AOC is a politician. That's your own fandom, Brad.
A4C, it's A1C. No, that's for diabetics. It's A1C. There's an A and a C in it somewhere.
But doesn't it always end up being sex stuff? It always ends up being sex stuff.
It always ends up being sex stuff. People love writing about sex. What can I tell you?
That's right. And on that note, from Minnie and Mickey, I'm going to say hello, everybody, and welcome to Comic Lab, the show about making comics.
And making a living from comics. I'm Brad Guigar, the author of the Webcomics Handbook and the creator of Evil Inc.
And I'm his pal Dave Kellett, cartoonist of Drive and Sheldon and co-director of Stripped.
And this week's Hour of Comics Advice is made possible by your support at patreon.com/comiclab. So Dave, let's talk comics.
Let's talk comics, my friend. We got a good show for everybody. And as I said, this is our first one recording in the new year. So Brad and I, for the most part, haven't chatted much in the last, 10 days.
No.
You went off into the world. I went off into the world, and nary a phone call or a FaceTime or, boy, that's a long stretch that we didn't talk to each other.
We need to catch up. I was over in Cleveland helping out my wife's brother and his wife. They've got a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. They're going to be 5 and 3. And, they were in that weird spot that you get when you have little kids. They both had to go to work after Christmas and before New Year's, but the daycare was closed. So they were facing either having to use, personal time and everything. And my wife and I said, nah, screw that. It's a 6-hour drive. We'll come over. We'll run the nephews crazy. And have a lot of fun. You guys go to work, and we'll make a whole thing of it. And that's what we did. You'll see that I've got just a little bit of a touch of a little chest cold that I picked up in Cleveland.
Sure. You always get the daycare cold. Yeah, exactly.
But a good time was had by all.
So a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, you absolutely took a shot to the business at one point during that visit, I'm sure.
Several times. Well, my problem is that when met with little kids, I cannot resist getting down on the floor with them and wrestling and throwing them around. And of course, they had both gotten for Christmas a big bean bag. So there's nothing more fun than to pick up a 3-year-old and throw him into the beanbag. It's perfectly safe because it's a big beanbag, but to the kid, it's like a roller coaster, So I was doing elbow slams and wrestling moves, and it was a great time. And our goal was to get the kids really tired in the morning,
so that you can hand them over to mom and dad, they right to bed. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and then bring them home for a nap. And I every damn time we brought them, they went right down for a nap. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to work on the comic now. And I'd sit down and immediately fall asleep.
Oh my God. The thing is, it's so fun to be around kids that age, but then you go, oh, I'm so glad that my kids are past that stage. I would not trade that for anything. I would not go back to those days. I was always tired. Yeah. I was always tired. All right, Brad, well, I'm going to jump us right into our first question coming in over at patreon.com/comiclab. This one comes in and is directed towards you, Dave, and Brad, but it says Brad! Exclamation point. Brad, this is a great classic question that I don't know that we've ever gotten before. Brad, should you judge a graphic novel or a comic book by its cover? Brad, come on now. How have we never had this question? Brad, should you judge a book by its cover?
Okay. So should you judge a book by its cover? Perhaps, perhaps not. Will you get judged by the cover of your book? 100% definitely. So if you are designing a book, if you're planning a book, you need to go forward as if you're going to be judged 100% by your cover, right? Because I've judged books by the cover 100%, and I know that the books that I've put out in the past have been judged by their cover. There are some covers that were just extraordinary, and some covers that weren't as good. Some covers I've talked about making mistakes on in the past, like putting the year on them, putting, or any kind of a number. I've gotten to the point now where even like volume numbers, I'll include them on the spine and stuff, but I'll try to get rid of any of that stuff and just say, this is the content of the book. So I know I've been judged. Should you be judged? I don't know. Will you be judged? Yes. But to take the actual question, should you? I'm going to stake out a claim here and say absolutely. You should judge a book by its cover.
So I agree with you that you will be judged. Yeah. And no matter what you do, it's something you need to take into account when designing your cover. I will just tell on myself. I judge a book by a cover.
Yeah.
There are famous graphic novels that I have yet to this day read because I just don't like the cover. Every time I go to pick it up, I look at the cover and I'm like, nah, this is hot nonsense. I'm not reading this. Yeah. And I'm told by many people that it's a great book. I would love it, but something about the covers, I'm just like, I can't do it. So here's a couple things to consider is that often if you're reading Salinger or Hemingway or this or that, they had no hand in the production of their cover, right? But oftentimes for a graphic novel, the artists themselves made 99, if not 100% of that cover themselves, right? Like a Brad Guigar cover is your work. Mine is my work. I don't know, Schultz cover, this or that. Maybe Schultz is a bad example. But so unlike a prose or poetry or anthology collection where the publisher handles it, a lot of famous graphic novels or comic books, the cartoonists themselves did it. And so you kind of know, snapping fingers right away, yep, that one's for me, that's not for me, based on the style, the look, the presentation, the tone, the tenor, in a way that you wouldn't with a Hemingway or a Salinger book. You know what I mean? So in a way, it is a fairer judge of what you're going to get than you would get in a prose or narrative thing. Should you do it? I'm going to argue maybe you should. Like, we live in a world of a billion titles in movies and video games and graphic novels. You got to use some determiner about what you're going to dive into. You can't dive into everything. It is not the worst thing in the world to judge a graphic novel or a comic book by its cover. I don't know that that's necessarily something to be poo-pooing, you know?
I'll tell you why. And by the way, I agree 100%. You should judge a book by cover, and I'll tell you why. Comics and cartooning is the melding of the visual and the text, right? It's mixing images and words. What happens on the cover? It's a mixture of images and words. And if you can't get the cover right, it's a pretty good indication you can't get comics right. And I'll tell you what I mean. I've judged this book by its cover, the book that uses a dialogue font.
Yes, I was just thinking of a book that I did that. That's so funny.
If you use a dialogue font for your headline or your title or anywhere on the cover, quite frankly, it does, unless there's an actual word balloon in the cover itself, in the cover art. If you're using a dialogue font there, you're not ready yet. You're not making good decisions. You're probably not doing a kind of comic that I'm not going to say it's a bad comic, but it's a comic that's going to give me fits when I read it, because if you make those decisions, you're going to do a bunch of other things that piss me off. So yeah, I think you should judge a book by a cover. I'll go one more step. Comics is about when you choose which moment to illustrate in a panel. Yes. Are you choosing before the action, during the action, after the action? And based on the storytelling moment that panel represents, each one of those might be the better choice at any given time. Cover is the exact same thing. And also the fact that you need to, in many cases, show some kind of action. If you've given me a cover where, and with some asterisks, because I can already see the responses, but if you give me a cover that just has a bunch of has your cast of characters standing looking into the camera, I have to question the moment that you've chosen with an asterisk, a big hairy asterisk, for that famous, there are some times when the camera angle, for example, or the attitudes on the faces make a difference. And I'm thinking about Kevin Maguire's Justice League cover that has been copied and homaged thousands of times at this point, because he raised the camera angle up. You're looking down at the superheroes for the first time in maybe ever. And they're all looking with arms crossed and pursed lips petulantly up at the camera. That's a whole attitude. There was something extra going on there. But if all you've done is given me your characters straight up looking into the camera. You just assembled them. You're okay. That's fine. But in my mind, speaking as just one guy, I don't think you're ready for doing the much more difficult things that are going to happen on the inside pages when it comes to storytelling, right?
Yeah.
So there's two examples of how I think you should and are maybe justified in judging a book by its cover.
So I thank you for reminding me about that Justice League cover. I had not thought about that, but that is a fun one. But yeah, so just expanding on Brad's point, a cover is ideally the best expression that you can do in that moment of what someone can expect in your comic. You know what I mean? It's the perfect distillation of, is this a comic that's going to be filled with action, with tension, or with comedic release, with energy, or with stillness? You know what I mean? In the sense that like a Calvin and Hobbes is energy, a Persepolis is more of a stillness kind of a feel. Is it going to be positive, optimistic? Is it going to be depressive? Is it going to be, a high energy, high octane X-Men romp from the 90s? Is it going to be a Chris Ware boring goes nowhere comic? Sorry.
Poor Chris Ware. If we ever run into Chris at a comic convention, you're going to go beat red.
Chris is going to be like, Dave, you're a son of a bitch.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like every comic, like you are communicating in your best and most distilled way what someone can expect out of you. Yes. And I would say, do not just wing a cover. So let me give you a couple things about a cover that you got to work with.
Yeah.
As far as fonts go, I want you to limit it to ideally 2, but most realistically probably 3, what normally graphic designers would call a font family. Now, what do I mean by that? A font family is 2 to 3 fonts that work well together on a cover. They're complementary. They don't fight against each other. So you don't have an Art Deco font right up against a monster font, for example. You know what I mean, Brad? Like you've got fonts that ideally work together or exist in a world together. So font family specifically can mean, like the Helvetica family. But in this case, what I'm saying is fonts that work complementary to one another. You want a color scheme that's working with each other, not fighting against each other. You want a focal point that is either distillation of action, distillation of comedy, distillation of message. You don't want to have multiple things going on. Usually a cover is trying to hit home one central point. And sometimes, like that Justice League cover, the point is kind of a haughty, pursed lip look, you know what I mean? That makes you question things. Sometimes it's Wolverine and Wolverine and Jubilee running for, hiding from the Sentinels. You can imagine a billion different covers. Sometimes it's a red wagon going down a hill and a tiger and a little kid going flying out. Tells you the overall theme of the cover. But basically, you want it to work together in a distilled fashion to communicate one central message. And the font is working with that image. The colors are working with that image. It's all coming together in a centralized way to tell you what you can expect in this book.
Yeah. And it's something that you've got to put a lot of thought into. Not only all the stuff that Dave talked about, but then the design of it. How prominent is your art? What are the colors you've chosen? All of those things are really, really important. How you've organized that information. It's all design. It's all the same skills that you're using as a cartoonist in general. It's just put together in a different way for your cover, and it's announcing very loudly your. I don't want it. Maybe skill level is a little bit too harsh, but attention to detail. It's saying a lot about you, and I don't think that's unfair. Speaking as somebody that, by the way, you can take a look out of the many dozens of books that I've put out. There are some of them with very strong covers, and there's some of them that if I had it to do all over again, I'd probably make another choice. Learning now what I know, knowing now what I didn't know then, I've gotten burned by that a couple of times. So. Yeah. Should you judge a book by its cover? Yeah, you should. because it's saying a lot about especially in today's day and age. You were saying, Dave, well, Schultz might not have had as much of a hand in cover design, and you're right. And there are people obviously out there working with publishers, and those publishers are going to have certain input. I think we should do this. I think we should do that. Put this up here, put that over there. That's all well and good. But it's unquestionable that in today's day and age, most of the comics work that you're going to see in print, that artist had a lot of sway in how that book got put together. And so I think it's perfectly fair to judge that. I think it's fair. I think it's fair.
And as Brad said before, the composition can't be stressed enough in terms of directing the eye and directing the energy and flow of the eye. And so for this, I want to direct you to a phrase that Brad often uses, which is to ask about the why behind the what. Yeah. And so here's the thing. You have 100 years of comics history and covers to look at. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean to copy. What I do mean is to use Brad's why behind the what. So, for example, classic X-Men covers, classic comic book covers of Calvin and Hobbes, of Peanuts, of this or that. You'll often see, if you break it down and ask about the why behind the what, you'll see that they use classical painting techniques like a pyramidal composition. You know what I mean? Like Leonardo da Vinci's Pietà, Michelangelo's Pietà, or Da Vinci's Virgin and Child paintings, where they'll use a triangle basically to help direct your eye and direct energy and direct flow. You'll see this again and again kind of in classic comics and in classic paintings. So you will want to break down the why behind the what of why a composition works, why the energy and flow of a composition works. And then literally you can take a bare bones wireframe structure from a classic comic book cover, apply it to your cover, and then rebuild it back up again into your design, your flow, your characters. But you're using the pyramidal structure or your composition. You're using something from that really worked in a classic cover, but breaking it down to its bare bones, asking about the why behind the what, and then building it back up again in your style. Don't you think, Brad, if you're starting out with covers?
100%, 100%. And just to wrap this up, taking Dave's advice about cool hunting in general, just going to a bookstore or a library, even better, and going through and just looking at covers and gauging which ones you react to. And which one's got you to stop in your tracks and stop scrolling? I think that'll say a lot. Hopefully,
I'm just going to jump on cool hunting, because one of the things that Beth and I do when we're embarking on a new type of book, and we did this for like the Anatomy of Animals book when we first started doing the Anatomy series, or that we did with the Drive hardcover, is cool hunting physically is going out to comic book shops, grabbing a stack of 10 very different books. And you know what I mean? You're not saying we're going to use this color, but you're saying, hey, Brad, look at the way they use the metal foil here. Hey, we could use metal foil for this or that. Oh, hey, Brad, look at the way they use spot UV, or look at the way they did their spine here, or look at the way they use their layout, or their color family. And so when you're cool hunting, you're grabbing tiny little bits from this cover, that cover, 10 different covers, and making it meld together on your cover. I can't recommend cool hunting enough. It's a great way to see what's working in the market right now and also ideate for yourself.
Absolutely.
Hey, gang, if you're listening while you work, take a minute to stand and stretch.
And while you're doing that, we'll tell you why you should join us on Patreon.
Yeah, because when you do, you'll get hours and hours of podcasts that we've recorded just for backers.
And exclusive Patreon posts that go even deeper on Comic Lab topics.
And you'll get access to our exclusive Discord server, a thriving community of professional cartoonists.
So you can support the show you love and get tons of actionable resources for your own cartooning.
And ho Nelly, if you want even more comics goodness in your life, check out the new drawing show that we're doing with our pal Kevin McShane over at wrongwayshow.com. That's wrongwayshow.com.
In each episode, we'll show you how to draw your favorite cartoon characters the wrong way.
Now, everybody, let's talk comics.
So, Dave, we've got another question that I'd like to tackle here, and I think there's a lot to unpack here. Okay. It comes in from a Patreon backer over at patreon.com/comiclab, and it starts like this. A few months ago, I was thrust into a most uncomfortable position. While at the dentist having my teeth cleaned, that's a pretty uncomfortable condition for me. The hygienist asked what I did for a living. Like a dolt, I told her I'm a cartoonist. Most people say, oh, that's nice, and that's it, but she pressed to see my work. I do hyper plus-sized furry romance comics. Think Violet Beauregard. By the way, do you know who Violet Beauregard is?
I don't. Violet
Neither.
Beauregard?
I had to look it up. It was that kid from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory that ate the grape.
Oh, the one that goes into becomes a blueberry, right?
Yeah. That's it.
Okay. Yep.
That's the reference here. Think Violet Beauregard. Only
why are you saying? Wait, say that first word really slow. That name, the first name.
Violet Beauregard.
Okay, you were saying Violet.
Oh, I might have been. Think young.
Suddenly became a sci-fi character, Violet.
Think young Ms. Beauregard, only older and can't pay for the pizza she ordered. The bulk of my work is tame and safe for work, but it can be awkward to explain to people. And that's what happened. I padded around the bush. Beat around the bush, I think, about my site, and she really pushed hard to see it. Eventually, I said the site was down, and that was that. It was painfully awkward, and it brings up an issue I've had for some time. How do I promote my comic if I'm afraid of what people think of it? I could draw better, but I know I write well, and nobody else makes safe for work plus-sized furry romance comics. How do I overcome this stage fright? I feel this is what's holding me back right now. So Dave, let's give this safe for work plus-sized furry romance cartoonist some advice. How does this person promote when they're embarrassed when talking to a dental hygienist?
Well, first of all, I want to give you credit and allow you to give yourself some credit that you were, at the snap of fingers, put into an unexpected situation. You did not go to the dentist thinking to yourself, well, now is my time. I've got to promote. I got to be ready. I've got to have some flyers and know what my elevator pitch is. What I'm saying is,
was he though? Was he though? He was asked a question. What do you do for a living? He can answer that question any way he wants to. I mean, listen, I make 100% of my living through comics.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's true. I don't know this person from Adam, et cetera, et cetera. But I make 100% of my living through comics. If somebody asks me what I do for a living and I don't want to necessarily get into a conversation, I say I'm a graphic artist. Or if I really want to shut him up, I tell him I sell life insurance. He didn't get put in this situation. He said, I'm a cartoonist.
Yeah, okay, but I'm just saying, there's a million times in life, you walk into an elevator and someone says, floor 4, please. You don't immediately expect to then have to pitch your comic. You walk into a dental hygienist, you don't immediately expect to have to pitch your comic. Like, some people could ask me, like, hey, Dave, what do you do for a living? And I'll say cartoonist without even thinking about the follow-up conversation that I've now launched into for these people. Uh-huh. You know what I mean? Like, you're going in to get your teeth cleaned. You didn't expect this to happen. I'm saying give yourself some credit that it's fine that you were like, look, I wasn't ready for this. I'm already anxious about getting my damn teeth cleaned. I didn't walk in ready for this. Get off my back. Yeah, I'm just saying, Brett, that I have myself unexpectedly stumbled into having to explain what I do for a living in a way that I was not emotionally or mentally prepared for. And frankly, don't really want to have the conversation with this person right now. You yourself have said in the past that you just use some diversionary job when you don't want to deal with this person.
Yeah.
This question asker was put into a conversation which is it's not a high anxiety situation for most people. I hate going to the dentist and getting my teeth cleaned, even when I've been doing well. So they were caught off guard is what I'm getting at. They answered the question honestly without particularly thinking about it. And now they're thrust into having it. So anyway, the question is, what do you do in that moment? And I go, I will, as skillfully as I can, if I can tell that the person is not going to like my comics, if it's a big, I don't know.
This is fascinating. Keep going.
I'm trying to think if it's a big lover of a very different kind of genre, and I can just tell by their personality. Yeah. I don't tend to tell them that I do, all ages newspaper style comic strip or a sci-fi comic. I'll just be like, oh yeah, I I don't know what I say. But
this
anyway,
is fascinating. No, because here's the
I'm
deal.
just saying it's happened to me, that this has happened. And so I sympathize. It's got to have happened for you. I know it's happened for you.
But of course it happens for me because I do very sexually charged comics. It comes with the territory of an NSFW cartoonist because of course it does. But yours, I cannot imagine you sitting there with the choices in your back pocket of Sheldon and sci-fi. You think that there isn't that there's somebody who's going to recoil at one of those two choices?
Sure.
Your stuff is very. I can't imagine anybody not liking Sheldon.
You're not thinking creatively enough in this moment about the variety of humans that are out there that could be judgy and be an asshole about comics. You know what I mean? And you've accidentally admitted to be a cartoonist. Like, imagine the toughest bully you had in high school.
Right.
And now he's 45 years old and he just got out of, police academy. And you're like, I don't want to deal with this guy. You know what I mean? Like, there's always an asshole somewhere, or somebody that thinks that comics is a job for a kid, or like, what an asshole. You draw for a living? Go get a real job. Where's your shovel? That kind of thing, you know?
And I don't mean, I want to make sure that I'm communicating clearly to my friend here, because what I'm actually saying is it makes me feel wonderful to know that you and I have this in common, because I know that I deal with this on a regular basis, but I would have never, if you would have told me to list 100 things about Dave Kellett, I could have never come up with this, that you deal with this the same way that I do. And it makes me feel very happy to know that it's more universal than I gave it credit for.
Here's the thing. The Venn diagram of the people that make you uncomfortable about your career are not the same Venn diagram as the people that make me uncomfortable about my career, but we both have them, is what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
You know? So, for example, for me, it's often, and it might be my own baggage, just dudes that really work for a living. That's my baggage.
You mean people that can use things like hammers and screwdrivers and computer equipment?
A dude that turns a wrench or that knows how many amps are powering a house, you know?
Yeah.
That's my own baggage. They might love comics. Right. In fact, a lot of them do, because I've fallen into conversations with them and they're great guys. But I'm just saying it's my own baggage that some of those guys, I'm like, I don't want to bring up that I'm a cartoonist, you know, because it's my own high school bully thing of like, these are the guys that beat me up back when I was a kid, you know what I mean? So I don't necessarily want to talk about being a cartoonist. So I'm just saying this question asker is not, I feel like they're not coming from an impossible place here, in that there are some people in life, by the way, they might love comics. I just don't particularly want to talk about it right now. And I don't particularly want to talk about it with them. So I get it. I get the question asker's angle on this. They weren't prepared. They were in a high anxiety moment. And they didn't particularly want to share it with this person for whatever baggage they had about this person and their own, work that they put out. So the question is, how do we get them out of it conversationally? Do you have a solution for that, Brad?
I'm so happy we started the conversation this way. I was not expecting it to unpack this way at all.
Really?
But it actually, it's what everything you said so reinforces what I was going to say, that it's really amazing how we both came at this question completely different and ended up in the same place. Because when I read this person's question, the first thing that I said, this person gets to the end and says, how do I promote my comic if I'm afraid of what people think of it? Right. And my first reaction was, I got good news for you. Standing in a dentist office talking to a hygienist has nothing to do with promoting your comic. That's not promotion.
Agreed.
That's not promotion. in the year of our Lord 2025, if it doesn't have a
2026,
hyperlink,
dingus, we just said it was the new year.
I'm still running 2025 in my podcast. In the year of our Lord 2026, if it doesn't have a link to it, it's not promotion. I feel strongly about that, except for a couple of like maybe billboards for Coca-Cola who's trying to get mind share. That's a completely different situation. But standing and talking to a hygienist has nothing to do with promotion.
And will not move the needle of your career, right?
At all. And therefore, what better way to exemplify the difference between what you're talking about and promotion is to tell you that you just heard two moderately successful cartoonists who are excellent at promotion. I'll say that about you and I'll say that about me. We are excellent about promotion, even though if I were to sit and talk to a hygienist, or if Dave was to sit and talk to a hygienist, I would tell Dave would tell the hygienist that he's a graphic artist. I would want to shut that conversation down even quicker. I would tell him I sell life insurance and know that they're never going to say another word to me. But we are excellent, and when it comes to promotion, because when it comes to promotion, we can write in a social media post a statement where we can swig, say why it's good, right? We can do.
You gotta swig, gang. Gang, if you're not swigging, you gotta swig.
I'm not sure I made swig happen in 2025, but by God, I'm going to make it happen in 2026.
Gang, if you're not swigging, you gotta be asking yourself, what am I doing with my life?
What am I doing here?
I gotta be swigging.
So I am really serious when I say that I understand, as does Dave, being a little bit hesitant to talk to somebody face to face with your comic, but there are ways, and good Lord, we've shared so many ways in addition to swig. There are so many ways that we share with you to get past that when it comes to actual promotion, like a social media post or messaging on your website or something that you do on Patreon. For example, swig, we've got the 4 C's of social media. We've got pride and joy. Tell them about your pride. Tell them about your joy. We've shared a lot of basically strategies to help people get through promotion. And I'll tell you this, the person says, how do I overcome this stage fright? I feel this is what's holding me back right now. If that same hesitance to promote yourself, to the same hesitance to swig or to pride and joy or to 4C, if that's leaching into your social media and your digital outreach, then yes, it is holding you back 100%. No question about it. And this is your problem to solve. We've given you tools, we've given you suggestions, we've given you swig and all this other stuff. Now you have to work on that. There's nobody, I'm not a psychologist. I can't get into your head and turn a screw. You've got to fix that, pal, because until you do, it is holding you back. 100% it's holding you back. And there's no way around it. Am I laying it on too thick here, Dave?
A little too thick, because all of us got into cartooning because there was an element of our personality that was introverted. All of us. You and I, Brad, in the right situations, can be extraordinarily extroverted. We can get up on a stage in front of 1,000 people and give a talk extemporaneously, and we know how to be extroverts. But there's a huge part of our personalities, Brad, you and me both, that are introverted. And if there's people out in the living room, we'll quietly go back to the bedroom for just a moment of peace, for God's sakes, because our personalities need it.
Agreed, 100%.
And we'll avoid social situations where our wives say we need to go out and do this thing, and we're like, I don't want to do this thing. Brad and I are introverted as much as we can be extroverted. We're probably ambiverts, but anyway. But I say that because you don't have to promote in person to be a cartoonist. In fact, the greatest swing you will ever make is online and in linking possibilities. And that's what Brad was saying initially. So I don't even feel like it's a concern. And I say this as someone who goes to a convention every year, San Diego Comic-Con, where 130,000 physical people are around me, and I could ostensibly be using that to promote. I do with flyers, and I do when people walk by the booth, but even I will admit that is not the primary place that I promote. The primary place that I promote is my Blue Sky account, the Reddit account, the websites, the mailing list. That's how I promote. I make it easy for people to share my comics, pass it along to their friend network online. That's how I promote. In a physical meat space environment, you're potentially, at best, converting at it's like a San Diego Comic-Con, maybe 10, 15, 100 people tops to physically coming to try out your comic. In a nurse situation or a haircut situation or a dental hygienist situation, you have a 99% chance of converting someone, of not converting someone. So it's not something to feel bad about if you're not able to do it in that physical space, because we're all introverts. We didn't go into this art form because we were socially super swingers. We're like, all of us were like, I'll be over here drawing. You know what I mean?
But here's the deal.
You're saying it's a fault that if you can't do it in person, that you can't be a cartoonist.
This is what I was going to point out. You just said that I was laying it on too thick, and then you went and you agreed with every point that I made.
Okay, then I misread the way you were saying it. Then I apologize. I misread.
I said standing in that dentist office had nothing to do with promotion.
You did say that. Yes. Yeah.
And then I said, but if that same timidness is leaching over into your social media, then that's a problem that you've got to fix.
That's where I went wrong in my understanding, because I thought you were saying, listen, if you're timid in real life, it's going to mean that you're timid online. I was saying that's not at all the case, that you can be very extroverted online, because who cares? I will give this person a strategy that I have used, because it popped into my mind.
Let's do that.
This popped into my mind because I'm now, today is my birthday. And I've been on this earth now for many a decade. And so this situation has happened to me more than once over the last, say, 25 years of being a cartoonist. So I will say what I do now, and this is an actual God's honest truth strategy that I use. They'll go, oh, wow, where can I see the comic? And I will always say now, because I just remembered this, I'll write it down for you before I leave, and I'll write it down on a bit of scrap paper. Because here's what it does: it immediately defers the question at hand, and it physically takes you out of their space when they're going to look at it. Like, you don't have to watch them watch it or look at it, which is honestly what your introverted fear is right now. Like, you're going to have to stand there while they look at your plus size, furry, suitable for work comic, and then they're going to be judging you in person, right?
Right.
And so this removes both of those problems. It defers the problem down the road until you're physically leaving the office, and you know for a fact you're not going to have to stand there and watch them look at it.
Yes.
So it's literally out of sight, out of mind. You're like, listen, here's the piece of paper. Go with God. I'm out of here. Bye. Gotta go. Woo! You know, that kind of thing. So, and they're like, oh, wait, let me have a look. And I'm like, oh, I can't. I've got to go to another thing. Sorry, I got to go.
I've got another dental hygienist I'm seeing.
Exactly. So literally that's what I do, Brad. And I would strongly suggest that that person and all our listeners put that in your back pocket. Say like, oh, I'll write it down for you before I go. It answers the question at hand. You don't have to necessarily talk about it anymore. And also you can answer with a lot of generalities. Oh, I love it. Yep, it's fun. Oh, I have a lot of fun doing it. Yep. You know what I mean? Like, you don't give them any meat conversationally to chew on, you know?
I've got a great story about that. So what I used to do something like that. I would always have a business card in my pocket, and I'd say, oh, I'll give you my business card before I go. The URL is on there. There was a time my kids were in grade school, and for reasons too long to go into, my kids and I were always the first ones on the playground. And we got into a habit of bringing a ball with us, and we would start playing out in the playground. Kids would show up, and they would get wrapped up into our game, so on and so forth.
Right.
And there was a little girl. She was new. She got brought in like halfway through the year. And through playing this game that we had on the playground, this girl immediately started making friends and feeling one of the gang. And it was such a smooth transition because she made friends through this game, which was very significant to her mother. who stopped me on the playground as the kids were going into school. Everybody's going into work, stopped me in the playground and asked if she could pray with me. And she said, what you've done for my daughter was such a meaningful thing. I'd like to pray with you. And I said, that would be very kind. Thank you. But then she started very kindly. And by the way, what a beautiful, sincere, thoughtful gesture. It was wonderful.
I don't know. Whenever somebody does that to me, I always get super uncomfortable. I'm always like, I guess. Oh, geez. And even if I share the same faith as they do, I'm always like, I don't want to do this. Go away from me. Again, this is me being an introvert.
It wasn't something I would do, but it's also like, I've also had people come up and say, I think you're a real toad. I hope you die. Of the two things,
I'd rather have toad. Nicer. I honestly, but I'd rather have toad because it's done.
Well,
I get so uncomfortable when a stranger or a near stranger does that to me. I'm always like, I love this for you, but I don't, because to me, I mean, that's a whole different discussion about faith, but I get really uncomfortable when somebody does that to me. I'm like,
then you love the end of this story.
Okay.
Because at the end of her prayer, she'd say, I'd really like to keep in touch because she knew my kids were moving on. And I said, oh, no problem. I'll give you my business card. And after this very devout woman got done praying with me, I hand her my business card that's all black, red, and white and has a huge logo on it that says Evil Incorporated. Dave, I've never heard from the woman since.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So listen, we don't need to talk about this, but I want to finish that thought because I don't know why. This is probably going to get me in trouble, but I think that a lot of people that say, I want to pray with you, they think they're doing it. They think they're doing it for altruistic, grander faith reasons of like, I'm spreading the word.
Yeah.
I always consistently feel like they're doing it for selfish reasons to make them feel better about themselves. Yeah. And it drives me bonkers just on a human level that they're making me uncomfortable so that they can feel better about being a good person. And it drives me bonkers. I know listen, go ahead and send hate email if you want, but that drives me bonkers when a stranger asks if they could pray with me. I'm like, God, I'm a good person, so I'll let you do it, but I hate this.
Well, I'm gonna help you politely pivot away from your hatred of all people who are religious.
I'm gonna get some hate mail.
We were talking about this a little bit pre-show, and I wanted to credit you with another great idea you've had because I said, I've always thought about doing this, but I was always too lazy. You had another suggestion you were going to make to this question asker, what to do in this situation and to have this in your back pocket, and that was to have an alternate website.
Oh, well, yes, that's right. I forgot about that. So my thought was, if you very specifically do feel like these physical interactions are places where you are dropping the ball on your marketing, and again, Brad and I don't necessarily think you are, but if you do, or if you have this situation pop up in your physical day-to-day life more than the average person for reasons that I couldn't fathom, but let's just say you do a lot of, I don't know, person-to-person sales or something, and this comes up in conversation a lot. You could potentially put together a very bare bones kind of portfolio-esque site with work that you're not necessarily embarrassed to show your mother, your cousin, your grandmother, your optometrist, whoever it might be. And then from there, with a little helpful warning, you could say, hey, I do a not suitable for work comic about superheroes or supervillains. Oh, hey, I do a suitable for work plus size furry comic. Oh, hey, I do historical fiction that's set in the world of cats. You know, it doesn't matter what, but whatever might passingly embarrass you, and we all have it, myself included, you could link out from that bare bones portfolio site with a little warning or better description that you would feel would prepare a reader. And Brad, you thought that would be a workable idea. You've thought about doing that yourself in the past, right?
The idea of a decoy site is one that I've had independently a few times. The only reason I haven't done it is because I'm too damned lazy. But I love the idea. You know, I know it would be very easy to do and upkeep because it would be and also it would have benefits to have a very tamed down, safe for work portfolio site. It would take you an afternoon to do, and then you'd have it. You could get the URL, you could get the domain, put up a quick site so easily, and then you've got this whole thing taken care of. I love the idea. It's on my this list of things to do.
This list of things to do. Yeah,
and one of these days I'll get around to it. But it's a great idea.
Well, listen, I haven't had to create a resume or apply for a job in 26 years, but I do remember, and I know from some of my nieces and nephews that some of the youths, they prepare a whole alternate social media presence or alternate, online footprint so that you can sort of hide who you are depending on who you're applying to, And so it's a version of that, I guess, is that you're basically creating a somewhat more sanitized online presence of yourself. But again, I don't know that there's a reason why Brad hasn't done it yet, and it's because he's fine with the way it's working out now, and he doesn't need his dental hygienist to know that he creates not suitable for work supervillains that fight and then fight, if you know what I mean. But Brad, if I'll just ask you to pray with me on that we're gonna make you uncomfortable.
Listen, I gotta be. This has been a fascinating day with you because I learned that you have embarrassment over your comic to the same extent that I do.
Not to the same extent, but no, I'm
you
just
don't
being
know
honest.
how embarrassed I am.
No, I've been around you enough to know that when people ask you, you very skillfully hedge the issue depending on who they are.
In fact, very often I've said to, in fact, I'm sure you've been there. Where they say, "Oh, where can I see what you do?" And I go, what you'd really like? This little show called Comic Lab, and then I just start talking about Comic Lab, which, by the way, would have been a great transition, but I'm not quite ready to give up yet. I just send them right over to Comic Lab, and do that. But
you were saying, though, that this has been a fascinating show, though, because we both are embarrassed, and then I cut you off.
We're both embarrassed. We were both embarrassed about the religion thing, but you really seem to be more embarrassed by it than I am. Well, and that surprised me, too.
Listen, I never talk about it with anybody, but I'm a guy that has faith, but I for some reason that always chaps my ass going up to a stranger. That's very specific type of evangelizing, and because you know what it is. As an introvert, I'm like F you because you've made me feel worse as a Christian for my own introversion, and so this is actually the opposite of a Christian act to make me feel shitty about myself because I don't want to pray with you as a stranger. Go away, leave me alone, and that's why it's. So it feels like it's an egotistical move on the other person's part to assuage their own sense of self that they're a good person, Brad, and they're doing good in the world. It is an odd power move, and I dislike it. And so I don't know why it chaps my ass, and maybe I should stop talking about it, but it always gets me. I do not like it. And so I'm very much green eggs and ham about it. I'm like, go away, leave me alone.
Well, bottom line, let's bottom line it for this person before we wrap up. What happened with the dental hygienist is okay. We've all been there. We've all done it.
We've all been there. Yeah.
I've had the same thing too. I guarantee it. You do have to work on making sure that doesn't slide into your online life, though. And if you have a sense that it is, then you know what you have to work on. This is a problem you have to solve. You cannot be necessarily shy when it comes to promotion. It's also, by the way, I mentioned Pride and Joy and the Four Seasons and everything. It's also the reason that we had the whole conversation of whose house are you in, so that you wouldn't feel upset about your promotion because you'd know the houses that it's okay for you to promote in and the houses that it's not okay for you to promote in. Whose house are you in? Right?
Whose house are you in? Yep.
That's why we've had all those conversations to help you along. If you feel as if you're having a hard time doing that, that's a you problem. And by the way, other than pointing you to all these episodes, and maybe it's time for me to do a collection of those as well. But other than to say, hey, keep listening to Comic Lab, we talk about this stuff for 400 episodes, that's a problem you've got to solve. There's no tap dancing around that. You've got to solve that, because until you do, you're not going to be doing effective promotion, and it's gonna hurt you.
Yep. But again, I just want to say you're not alone in this, as Brad just said. You're a perfectly fine human being. It's perfectly fine to be not comfortable physically promoting your comic to every human being you meet. And so you're on the right path in terms of the average cartoonist feeling introversion about never-ending, unceasing promotion with every physical person that they meet. You're fine, is what I'm getting at. You're fine.
And by the way, dental hygienists can be tough to talk to just in general.
Yeah, it's a high anxiety moment. Like you're okay to be like, you're already uncomfortable. You're already in a bad power position. You're in a chair with your mouth open and metal devices scraping at your teeth.
They got a hook against your gums, and they ask you how you feel about the tariffs. And
well, and just speaking of power plays, I've talked about this before with haircuts, but dental hygienists are another one where I swear to God, if a dental hygienist asks me stuff, as long as they keep working, I'm fine with the conversation. It's the GD power play of like, no, you're going to talk to me because I've stopped working. And now it drives my dog. This is an episode where Dave Kellett is so small. I'm so small.
Yes.
I'm so small. Like, all I ask is...
I can see Dave Kellett at the dental office going, I'm paying you by the hour. Get to the teeth. Get to the decay, please.
To me, again, it is a power play because it's like I'm waiting to get my hair cut. I'm waiting to get my teeth cleaned. I cannot leave this situation. And now I have to listen to your discussion about your vacation to Lake Tahoe. I don't care. If you're going to share the story, that's fine. Keep cutting the hair. Keep cleaning the teeth. You can't stop. You cannot stop. That is a power move, and I didn't subscribe to this. I'm so small today, Brad. I'm so small.
That is, when you find a good antisocial barber, you stick with that person for the rest of your life.
Yes.
I had one back when I was living in Canton, Ohio. He was that guy. I think he was running numbers out of the back, because the only time he left my hair was when the phone rang, and he'd say, okay, yeah, we could do that. And he'd go in the back and do something. He'd come back out and do my hair. So he was a great guy, but didn't care what I thought about politics, didn't talk to me about sports. I went in, he started snipping, bop, 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 and then we were done. I loved him.
Can I tell you what I want out of a barber? I want a barber who's going through a divorce and has a lot of self-doubt and doesn't feel like talking. I want them so wrapped up in their own thoughts that they don't want to be talking to me. That's what I want out of a barber. I want him to be thinking about all the ways it went wrong with Elaine and then just riddled with self-doubt.
Oh my God.
To me.
That may be the funniest thing I've heard yet. I got nothing to add to that except that you've been listening to Comic Lab. I used my one good transition already. I can't do it again. The show about making comics, cutting hair, and making a living from comics.
Your hosts have been my delightful friend Brad Geiger, the editor of webcomics.com and the creator of Evil Inc. at evilcomic.com. He'll hand that business card to you at the most inopportune time after you've just done an activity, and the co-host of the new drawing show over at wrongwayshow.com.
And my freshly clipped friend Dave Kellett, the co-director of Stripped, the comics documentary, and the cartoonist of Sheldon at sheldoncomics.com, and Drive at drivecomic.com, and another handsome co-host, along with our friend Kevin McShane of the new drawing show at wrongwayshow.com.
Here's the problem, though, Brad. You'll find the perfect barber. He'll be going through the divorce. He'll be real quiet during the conversation. But divorces don't last forever, Brad. A year or two on, that's only four haircuts on for a guy. A year or two on, he'll be back in the dating pool. He'll be back in the dating pool, Brad, and he'll have a spring in his step, and he'll be chipper and be ready to talk. And then I gotta go find a new barber.
And then you gotta find a new barber.
I gotta find a new barber. I gotta look for another guy that's getting divorced.
So much about Dave Kellett. I just found out Dave Kellett has quarterly haircuts. This is amazing.
My wife was making fun of me for that the other day. She's like, you can do it more than every 3 months. I was like, that's fine. 3 months is fine.
You really don't need to.
I'm going to say the Comic Lab theme song is used with permission from Andy Creighton at theworldrecord.net, and this episode was edited by the ever wonderful, ever whimsical Matt Woodard of Woodsong Production over at www.woodsong.media. Why are you laughing?
You are kind of right. You want to get that barber that when you first walk into the barber shop, you find him just staring longingly at the pointed end of that scissors.
No, you want him staring into the middle distance going like, oh, right, I guess I got to cut some hair.
Ready? You just walked in just as he's about to take a sip out of that blue water.
Oh my God, what an image. What an image. Oh.
If you love Comic Lab, you can rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts, and you may hear your review featured on a future episode. And don't forget to give us a 5-star review on Spotify. We're burning up those podcast charts.
And Comic Lab is made possible by your support over at patreon.com/Comic Lab. So I will go ahead and say that twice. Patreon.com/ this is the episode where we learn Dave is a horrible human being. I'm not kidding, Brad. I would go to an ATM. I think the most I can get out of my ATM at any one time is $400. I would go to my ATM, get out $400. I would pay $400 cash if I could travel back in time and just be just a little bit off distance from Brad Geiger being forced to pray on a playground. I would love to see the look on your face and how you reacted to that.
Listen, I'm very good at pretending to do the right thing. I had my hands folded down at my side, in front of me. I was looking down reverently. I did all the things you're supposed to do.
Oh, $400 cash, Brad, could be yours if we can recreate this moment. I'm so willing to give you $400 cash to recreate this moment, Brad.